Hey everybody, it's Dan with Pain Free You. I'm glad to be back outside again. Just feel more comfortable out here. I can concentrate better. No distractions. Anyway, today's topic is going to be original pain versus learned pain. And I'll get to that in a second. But as we often do, we're going to enjoy the woods here, take a couple of breaths. I just saw a couple of deer running off through the yard over there. A couple of breaths. Just breathe in the peace. Breathe out the stress. Breathe in the confidence. Breathe out the worry. So, breathe at your own pace, whatever works for you. So, I wanted to talk about the concepts of original pain versus learned pain. And as we know, if you've done any study of TMS, the mind-body syndrome, stress illness, you'll realize that pain happens to us. In some cases, we fell off a roof and bam, you broke something, right? That's the original pain from an injury. That's generally not what we talk about here because relatively few of us in this TMS world are here because of a true injury, right? Most of us are here due to an acute onset of TMS, which feels like an injury, or gradual onset. So the original pain to me is pain begins. For me, I had an acute onset of TMS. I bent over to put on my underwear, clearly not a stressful move, something I had done thousands of times before. I was in my early 30s, bent over to put on my underwear, and whammo, here came some pain, and that began 13 long years of struggle. So that was the original pain. For me, it took me a long time to figure out why that happened. Even after I learned about TMS, I didn't connect the dots to exactly where I was emotionally, stress-wise. All that stuff. So it was not an injury, although some people would say, oh, you bent over wrong, or you must have slipped a disc, or you threw your back out, and all these terms that have no basis in fact, just language that's thrown around the medical community and society in general. So original pain, some people will have a surgery, like a legit surgery for something, and then the pain never stops after surgery. That falls into the category of learned pain. I believe that TMS happens as a result of unresolved negative emotions that accumulate. And either, depending upon what your belief is, either Sarno's right, and it's a distraction mechanism to distract us from our overwhelming negative emotions that are too scary, dangerous, or don't fit with our self-image. And so as these emotions accumulate and build up and build up and build up, the brain goes, wait a minute, that's dangerous. And remember, the brain's job is to protect us. The brain says, let's throw a distraction at you. Now that, I'm not too sure how anybody could scientifically prove the distraction theory. There's other people like Dr. David Clark that say, well, it's probably just an accumulation of this emotional energy and it manifests itself. It's basically physical pain in the body are the unfelt emotional pains. And that's an interesting way to look at it as well. In either case, mind-body syndrome, psychophysiological pain disorders, distraction pain, whatever you'd like to call it, happens as a result of these unresolved negative emotions. And that is what I also call original pain, right? It's that acute onset where it's like whammo, you feel like you threw your back out or somebody jabbed a knife in your back. And also there's gradual onset of TMS, which is you wake up, you get a little twinge. What's going on with that? And over the next few days, it gets worse and worse and worse. Before you know it, you can't move. And, that doesn't make any sense physiologically because you didn't injure yourself. Whereas at least with the acute onset, you can kind of feel like, wow, I just injured myself. I bent over wrong, or I lifted something, or I was at the gym and I did this, or I did that, or I went for a run and I must have overdone it and now all of a sudden I hurt something in my back, or wherever in your body. And look, this doesn't only apply to pain, but for sake of this discussion, if you have another symptom going on, please replace the word pain in your head for whatever's going on with you, whether it be burning, numbness, tingling, weakness, dizziness, whatever it may be. Please swap that. So the original pain, I often like to suggest that we kind of evaluate. I did that in yesterday's video of connecting the dots. What was going on at the time the pain started, right? And so that's an important thing to kind of analyze and see what was going on, so that you can kind of get that first piece of the puzzle, that it is in fact TMS, mind-body, stress-induced. So the original pain can happen from an injury that doesn't heal right, which is kind of leading me to the learned pain part, or an acute or a gradual onset of TMS. And now, again, the purpose of the pain is, I don't know if I want to use the word purpose, but the reason for the pain is these unresolved, accumulated emotions. Now, learned pain, what is that? Well, I believe an acute onset or gradual onset, or even a true injury that never heals, the things that make those pains chronic is the fear, the focus upon the pain, and the anxiety about the pain. And we can quickly freak out like, wow, this is bad, I broke myself. You go to the doctors, and then we become medicalized. We have all sorts of doctors go, yep, there's why you did it. Or, oh, you got to be careful, don't do this again, don't run, don't play sports, don't do anything, sitting in a chair is dangerous, and all this medical bullshit, if you can excuse my language. But we get told all of the reasons that we're frail and we're broken, and we become more fearful of our bodies, and we start to really start to limit and shrink our lives, because the medical system has convinced us that we're broken and easily broken, and we're very frail, and don't do this, don't do that, and you're going to have a lifetime of pain, right? So that's medicalization, and the fear and the anxiety that creates, and the constant focus on the pain or the symptoms, is what teaches them to become chronic and long-term. And when I say teaches them, I'm referring to like neuroplasticity and the wiring of the brain. Because the more we think about and focus on something, the more the brain listens and says, that's really important. I'm going to connect those wires to get more efficient at it. And so learned pain is basically the brain going, wow, this is really important. You're in danger. So my job as the unconscious, subconscious brain is to protect you and keep you from injuring yourself. So I'm going to keep on firing these pain signals, because you and the doctors and the media and your friends and family have all convinced you and your subconscious brain that you're going to injure yourself if you move a certain way or if you do a certain thing. And okay, so the brain has learned that there's danger, and as long as the brain feels that there is danger, it's going to keep on sending those pain signals. And the more it does it, the more focus you place on it, the more attention you give it, the tighter those wires get together. And that's what I like to call learned pain. Dr. Schubner really introduced me to this topic with his book, Unlearn Your Pain. And so learned pain is simply just a matter of telling the brain, this is really important, and wire those things. And so the original pain is usually due to the emotions. I believe we learn to stay in pain through the fear, focus, and anxiety. And I believe this is important to understand the difference between the two, because there are folks who have done either journaling or emotional discovery or whatever process that they have decided to do to kind of get to the bottom of this emotionally. And they've spent days, weeks, months, years doing this emotional discovery, and they've uncovered every little bit and thing from their past over and over and over again, and they're running out of things to write about or feel, and yet they're still in pain. And they're oftentimes coming to me going, I don't get it, Dan. I've written about everything I can think of. There's nothing left. And oh, by the way, my childhood wasn't that traumatic, and I don't know what to do to get out of pain. Well, If fear, focus, and anxiety is what turns the original pain into long-term learned pain and chronic, then it is very possible that fear, focus, and anxiety is what keeps the pain persistent. And this is the primary reason why I feel so strongly about and emphasize all the time to know it's TMS, know you've got it, and your body's okay, which helps to reduce the fear, right? Fear, focus, and anxiety. So let's reduce the fear through knowledge. Focus, I always say, take your focus off of the pain. Look at, focus, and pay attention to anything but the pain. Why? Because we want to send a very specific message to the brain that says this is not important, right? Anxiety, that's just worry about the future. And so if you have the knowledge and know that you're fine and you're not paying attention to the pain all day long, your anxiety is naturally going to reduce. So the things that make it chronic, fear, focus, and anxiety about the pain or the symptoms, or I threw my back out, can be offset through knowledge that you're actually okay. It's not the body's fault. You know, do the feeling of the emotions, but if you've done that for years or months and you're out of answers, I'm not sure that writing more is necessarily going to be the answer unless you get some of the other stuff right. So, learned pain versus original pain. There are cases when somebody's done all the emotional discovery and they're still in pain. It's because I think it's transitioned to learned pain. And that means that the fear and focus and anxiety about the pain itself is what's keeping it perpetuating, even though you may have already uncovered the appropriate emotions or have emptied out the emotions that were the original cause of those accumulated emotions, and that those dangerous emotions that perhaps the brain was distracting us against, or that these emotions unloaded into the body and created these symptoms, or these emotional pains were being felt in the body. So yes, sometimes we can get a quick result by feeling our emotions, but you know, if you have already taught your brain that this is really important, you better wire it and keep it going to keep me safe, you know, you may have some work to do on the mindset and the focus and not giving a crap about the symptoms, because essentially if we want to unlearn the pain, yeah, do the emotional discovery, but if you've already done that, I'm not convinced that's it. Seek to soothe yourself. How do we do that? Reinforce the knowledge. Yes, I am okay. It's just TMS, and that's great news. And then, you know, soothe. Get the mindset of indifference, which I talk about all the time. Indifference is I really don't care. And people say, yeah, I can't get to indifference. I don't know how to not care. And the intermediate step between freaking out about it, right, and complete indifference is a chosen response that goes, yeah, it really hurts. I'm noticing it. I can't ignore it because that's impossible, but I notice a pain. So instead of freaking out, even though I can't get to indifference yet, I can be in the middle and say, but I'm going to choose my response. And instead of freaking out about it, I'm going to move towards indifference, and I'm going to say, all right, this sucks, but whatever. I've lived through however many days, weeks, months, years of this pain, decades even of the pain, and I know what it is. I have the knowledge. I accept that I have TMS. I believe I can get rid of it if I can get these few things dialed in. And so we can soothe ourselves and bring our fear down and bring our anxiety down. And when you start to lose the fear, the focus, we shift the focus and turn down the anxiety about the symptoms themselves, the brain goes, wait a minute, so that's not important anymore? And starts to do what? Let go of those neural connections that have been learned. So it's really important to understand the difference between original pain and the learned pain. And the main reason I'm focusing on this is because so many people come to the conclusion that I've been journaling for 2 years and I'm still in pain, so I must have missed something. there must be some emotion, some emotional event, some trauma buried so deep that I can't get to it, and it's inaccessible because it's supposedly in the unconscious mind, which is not accessible with the conscious mind. So I'm really screwed because I can't find that one thing that's keeping me in pain. And that belief that you still have more digging to do and you're looking for that needle in a haystack can absolutely keep you stuck because, oh, by the way, the more we can't find that one thing, the more frantic we get about the pain and our inability to eliminate it. So we fear it and we focus on it more and we get more anxious about it. And guess what? That tells the brain this is still important, keeps it wired, and the cycle continues. So just realize that unlearning your pain is as simple as shifting your focus away from it, telling the brain in no uncertain terms, this is not important anymore. I am safe. I know I have TMS. I accept that. I believe I can get rid of it. I'm going to feel my emotions on a regular basis. I don't have to go digging for centuries or decades ago. Centuries. I wish we lived that long. Decades ago. And I can kind of focus on the right now emotions, soothe myself, get the mindset right, focus on living life, and the brain will eventually get the message. So, original pain versus learned pain. I think most of us go through an evolution of the original pain, the medicalization, which convinces us we're broken, creates that fear, and we focus on it, we get anxious about it, and that turns it chronic, which is learned pain. And sometimes, we do that. We do the great job on the emotional stuff, but because of this fear, focus, and anxiety about the pain itself or the symptoms themselves, it can kind of stay connected and not let go. So I hope this helps you understand kind of the progression or, I guess the progression of the pain or symptoms, and start to think about when you went from the original pain to learned pain. And did you get medicalized by your diagnoses or the fear or the cautions from everybody around you? Be careful, be careful, be careful. And so really by understanding how this process works, it becomes easier to see why developing this attitude of indifference, not caring about the symptoms, shifting focus away from it as much as possible, reinforcing for yourself, you're soothing your thinking by saying it's just TMS. It's really clear to see why that, to me, is the answer to eliminating this long-term pain, because we just need to teach the brain that this old pain is no longer necessary. It's not keeping you safe, and it can be let go. So I hope you found value in this. I guess I will see you guys and gals in the next video. I appreciate you watching. If you're on YouTube and you have not yet subscribed, hit that red subscribe button. If you're on Facebook and you haven't joined me on YouTube, that's where it's the easiest to find the entire archive of well over 360 videos. So, I love you guys and gals, and we will see you in the next video.